Is this recording? Yes. If you cannot make something out of thin air, you will never make something good into something great. That makes sense? That's how I think. Okay? Just understand, like, when I talk to one person, there's one thing. When I show up to serve, it's almost like I put on an alter ego and I snap back into it. Like, a family member could have died. But when I come to this call, I'm not going to bring that with me, because that's called just being a responsible adult. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I could even let that fuel me. So today you're going to do some exercises to really uncover, okay, the deeper transmissions that you're here to receive. If you've ever been to like an Eckhart Tolle seminar, you know, he's an extreme example of the fact that you'll get transmissions that are not necessarily like verbiage. It's not something that you necessarily hear him say. But because he's coming and bringing all his energy like this, he's receiving what? Source. He's receiving nature. He's receiving the now. He's hearing the now. And because there's a louder silence in his own mind, he's able to channel that through him. This is the art of non-resistance. Okay, so I know that you're on the mic. So that's going to totally just kind of spoil the impact of this, because this mic is capped. Nikki's sitting right next to me. Say, come on, camera. Come on, camera. She can sit there, right? You could just sit here if you want. You just be like. Now, you can tell that, like, is it how different is it in person versus on a call? Different. What do you feel emotionally? Like, what do you feel? There's no right and wrong answer.
More presence, more connection.
In you.
In me.
In you. What do you feel right now? When I speak, what do you feel?
Power, empowerment.
Okay, and that's the point. Write this down. People just want to feel. This is how you impact. This is how you influence. So if I'm controlling my state with my voice, just start off small, right? Just do that. I know you're sick, so I'll take it easy on you. Just do hey. Okay. So this is volume knob versus light switch. Light switch is like pattern interrupt, right? But volume knob is like hey, hey. What's happening is that you're clearing your mind with the vocal projection, and you can level it up a little bit more, right? So I want you to do this. Just do like, don't try to do a tone. Just do like, just do that. Okay, so remember that note in your mind. Have you ever sung before? Okay, do that. No, wait, hold on. Major third, right? Go 3 steps up. So this is how you find your register, by the way. I should have pre-framed that. This is how you find your most dynamic register, so that you don't have to try as hard to project your energy, right? So, okay. Now, is your natural vocal register. Okay. Now, when we talk about like the speaking skills, this applies all across your life. So think of like as the major third as the main like average. Like if you were to take 1 through 10, it's like 5. So in order to avoid losing people's attention or boring people or not being memorable, you have to use your vocal tonality, okay, the pitch, to use it as like a sine wave. So if A, right, that's your natural register. It's just 3 steps up. So so this is mine. Ready? Like I'm not trying. This is neutral, right? Do, re, mi, 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 hey, hey, right? So when you speak, you want to open this. By the way, this is going to help you to gain energy when you work. Who wants to gain energy when they work instead of feel drained? Yes. Hey. Okay, so if that's my register, now I'm gonna just kind of try it out a little bit, like play with it a little bit. Be like, oh yeah, so I was going to this grocery store. So this is it. Oh yeah, I was going to the grocery store, and I really loved it. Have you ever been that way? Have you ever been that way? You see that? So in order for me to manipulate my voice naturally and easily, I just have to open my throat and I have to soften my physiology. So the less I try, I'm trying less than all of you right now, but I'm actually energized. I'm actually the loudest, meaning I'm like the loudest in the room, but I'm not actually trying harder than anyone here. That makes sense? Okay. So how do I maintain that? Well, again, it's the throat. My attention is on my throat because I can when you're in that contraction, and that's how you know you're very attached to the outcome instead of desiring the skill set more than you want the outcome. So what does that do? It enables you to be engaging with the present moment instead of moving from kind of this future or this past, right? So when I'm calm and my physiology is relaxed, I'm accessing more of my power. So if you want to be a transcendent leader and speaker and CEO and actually get people to trust you subconsciously through your tonality, your demeanor, your certainty, your eye contact, right? Your body language, you have to just trust in the physiology. You have to trust in the physiology will lead your mind to say the right thing. Because they're buying into what? Your pre-verbal honest signals. They're not necessarily like, yes, tactics are important. Yes, strategy of why you're doing and when you're doing it is important. But the principle is what you're really supposed to be learning in this group. This is the stuff that gets you to implement what you're doing. And that's the difference between someone who makes 6 figures and someone who says 6 figures. That's not even money. That makes you see my point? Just say that. That's not even real money.
Not even real money.
6 figures, 10K a month isn't even money. It's not even real money. Like in the 90s, that was money. But now it's like, it's not really that big deal. You see my point? So, and so with my my vocal projection, I can slow down my mind. That's the point of using your voice to slow down. Just do that. To sustain your vocal tonality is going to slow down the thoughts. Okay, so this is kind of coming from this concept of thinking slow, thinking fast. You need to become this type of person who can like this, like off the cuff, like very snappy, very witty, like just top of mind, whatever's true in the moment. Now, doesn't matter how stupid it sounds, right? And then you should be able to be someone who can slow down the pace because you're controlling what? What are you controlling actually? What are you controlling? Yes, the frame, which implies you're controlling just your own state. Your own state. Your own state. This is why you want to move from this kind of wholeness rather than like, I need something. And you can catch yourself when you feel fear. It's because your ego is driving you. And your ego is always afraid of loss. And it always wants to get shit. You see my point? That's all the ego is, right? It's just like, what am I going to get? What am I going to lose? If you understand, then that's the nature of human nature. Do you see how powerful that makes you as a leader, where everything you're saying is framed in what's in it for you? Even if I'm talking about a story about myself, I'm still saying I subconsciously want you to believe and think this and feel this. Make sense? It's not manipulation, but it is, because manipulation is not good or bad. It's just how life is, because you're in a simulation. There is no separation. So you can judge that, or you can just leverage it. And obviously you would never, invite someone and turn someone away if it's not a fit for your program. That's up to your values and honor and ethics to be able to just, qualify people. If they're not a quality fit, then obviously don't make them an offer. But most of the time, it's going to be your responsibility to control your own state and just let people have their own experience. And the best comeback and rebuttal to someone like, oh, I feel pressured, is that actually I'm not pressuring you. You may feel pressure, but I'm just present. I'm just present. Because that's really what's happening, is that they're having a hard time at fuming this emotion without judging it. So they're just stuffing it, and it's building and building, and it's feeling painful for them because they don't recognize that they need to feel it to heal it. That's how you transcend any feeling, is you have to go into it, not away from it. Okay. So sometimes I'll even be speaking and I'll trigger myself. Has that ever happened to you? You say something like, what? Ouch. Right. So again, that's my responsibility. That is my responsibility. Okay. Why does that happen? Who can take a guess? Like, why do you think that when you say something, maybe you talk about money, or you talk about sex, you talk about certain types of content, why do you think that triggers you? Tell me. Take a guess.
It's showing your own limitations, your own edge, your own
Good shit. Great answer. Great. Yes. Yeah, it's exactly true. Because like you're basically, your ego is like, oh shit, like these other people, like this is your social conditioning. This is a you thing. Like if this wasn't a you thing, then everyone would be triggered by the same things. Do you understand that? Like in every situation, everyone would be triggered by the same things. But because we know that that's not true, that should empower you. So if that triggers me, I know that's some social conditioning in my fucking brain that says, it's all from all the societal stuff that's just pumped at you all day. It's pumped at you. You can't say this. Oh, this is offensive. That could hurt someone's feelings. Does it make sense? But you need to be in this frequency of knowing that, yes, like your best efforts are better made when you can pre-frame. If you sense that someone could be triggered by this, you can slow down and pre-frame, hey, you're not going to want to hear this. This may feel aggressive. And boom, you smash them with it, right? As a sign of just kind of being mature, right? But just generally speaking, that gives you permission to never hold back what it is that, and some people are like, are you open to hearing feedback? Like, I kind of like that, but it's kind of like, that's actually even more aggressive, I think. If you just say like, if you're open to some feedback, and then just go. You can wait for them to say yes. Like that's called capturing permission, isn't it? You're capturing permission. But when you're marketing, like the way I treat my leads in my audience and in my marketing, or in live events, when it's my event, it's my page. Like I'm not gonna what are you gonna just like post something that says, hey, open for feedback? And then it's like this post if you're open for feedback. Like, no. So this is in the context of conversation, but like live conversation. In DMs, I don't really ask them, hey, are you open to some feedback? Like you could, I guess, but that's going to really just slow down the interaction. And it's just data just shows it's really not, it's not a big discrepancy. Make sense? But this is the world we live in. You need to take yourself out of that, like that limited paradigm, and just say out loud, like, words don't have to hurt me. Say that. Words don't need to hurt me. Like, they really don't. Like, you can tease them back. You can ignore them. You can pretend they didn't say it. You can just lean in and be like, "Okay, can you say that a little bit louder?" They usually won't say it because they're like, they don't have the balls to say it again, louder. Or you can exaggerate the frame and be sarcastic to take the frame back. It's when you become defensive or reactive or discouraged, right? You lost the frame and you fell into their frame. Okay? Now, as an overall principle of life, I don't want you to become this control freak of like, if I'm not controlling the frame, then, I don't feel good, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not like, you don't need, like, you should, there's a part of you that should let life touch you. You should let yourself, like, when you go watch a movie, you're falling into the frame of the movie so that you can fully experience the movie. But I am just trying to show you the segue into today's topic, which will give you more energy. It will make you more money. It will let yourself not feel so rushed and pressured all the time, and give you a sense of a positive relationship with time. Okay? Make sense? Okay, so I want you to write this down at the top of your journal, okay? Ask yourself this question. What in my day-to-day routine or life, okay, gives me something on the front end, but takes on the back end? And I can give you some examples, but I just want you to go, in your own mind and just see like what types of people, activities, environments, that unhealthy habits, meaningless conversations that lead to nowhere, distracting people like wanting you to look at this. I'm trying to show you how to create exponentially more time to things that actually move the needle forward. Okay, it could be things like going out to eat or stuff like that, right? So just take 3 minutes to write that down, because what we're just doing is we're just auditing. That's important, to audit, to diagnose. You want something to drink? You want water? Okay.
You say prepare to do things that are more draining.
No, well, what do you mean by draining?
Like not things that are adding to energy.
Okay, yeah. It's always, just ask yourself, like, after you do it, like, do you feel emotionally drained, or do you feel what's it called, energized? Okay, but the secret of this training is that you probably have never learned is you have to put on, like, this kind of phrase on the back end of everything. Every belief you hold is called most of the time. Okay, but this is how you avoid becoming an extremist and making beliefs dogmatic, and like feeding your ego simple truths of like, we're all one, unconditional love. Yeah, but you're broke. You can't pay the bills, right? Or it's like, oh, it's just the money. Just chase the money. Yeah, but like, when the fuck are you going to live your life? Like, when are you going to have enough stuff and have enough cool stuff that you bought when you actually let yourself enjoy it? And this is a problem that my wealthy clients experience. Make sense? Okay, so get to it. Write it down. Take action. Take the action. What are those things, right? Is it food? What you're drinking? Types of conversations such as complaining, gossip, victimhood, right? Like, that's time. That's time you could have been spent generating a call booked or posting something. And your empathic spiritual, avatar inside of you wants to hold the space, oh, thank you, you just become like the doormat, right? You don't want that.
Hey Theo, could you talk a little bit about when
Yo.
routine practices actually become like out of balance? Because sometimes I feel like I'm like so focused on my taking over so much more time than I realize, but I feel good from it and it's supporting my mission. But yeah, how do you balance that?
Yeah, I would try, like, in your morning routine, you can kind of break up, right? So, like, as soon as I wake up, like, like when you pay a mentor, you're basically trying to figure out, like, what are they doing behind the scenes, right? So, like, what are my habits? Where do I spend? What environments do I spend? What am I investing into? Who do I, what are my rituals and stuff? In the morning, I try to just knock out one tiny little fucking, like, task, whether that be responding to a DM, following up or shooting out an email or posting something, right? Like, I'll try to do one thing, or maybe it could be something like operationally, right? Like, I need to get back with a client, or I need to do this, that with the other. Like, I will just do one thing before my ritual to, like, accomplish that. Now this compounds, right? Then I'll do my morning ritual. And, like, it's almost as if I've already broken the seal on taking advantage of the fact that you only have so much conscious willpower as the day progresses. You start losing that. So that usually by the time 8, 9 p.m. rolls around, you got nothing left in the tank. You got no gas left. Is that true? It should be true because you're human. Right? So try to take advantage of it. Don't try, do it, commit to it. To, like, knocking off at least one little task. I learned this from Dan Martell in one of the masterminds that I'm in. He's like a fucking amazing leader. You know Dan Martell, he's the shit. Yeah, he's awesome. He wrote the book Buy Back Your Time, right? And so he, like, before his morning ritual, he'll, like, knock something out right away. Okay. Ideally, it's something high priority like a DM or, something conversational. But it doesn't have to be. But just do that. Make a promise to yourself that you'll commit to that, and then it will just become a part of your natural lifestyle, right? Because I know how it does feel like there's things like the cold plunge or exercise or my morning meditation, which sometimes it starts to feel like I'm using that as an escape from working. So you can play with it, can't you, creatively? Again, like, can you regulate your state? Or on the other hand, can you use that as what? A reward, an incentive for your ego, your monkey mind. Okay. You got that candy sitting in the corner. Like, oh, okay, if I do this, right, I'm going to give myself that candy. Now, that's not predicament of, like, oh, the time. It's really just, did I get the result or not? You see, in order to get money, a lot of money, you need to be that type of person where, like, in Relentless by Tim Grover, he says, like, there's bleachers, there's closers, and there's cleaners. The bleachers are the people who are good at what they do. Like, if you give them something to do, they're more likely to do it pretty good. The closer will always get it done if they're given the plan to execute, and they'll just implement it and they'll do it. But the cleaners are like, they get the result. They get the result. Doesn't matter how you feel, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. But you will never, ever see a cleaner quit. Now, you don't need to be, like, heavy-handed of being in this kind of control and force, but it's just like it's an identity shift that you have to make. Like, I am someone who, yes, has spiritual beliefs and is someone who goes into the 3D and lands the plane, gets the result. I get the result. What is the result? Money. What is the result? How many clients do you need to get that? How do you reverse engineer that result? You focus on the fucking money. Now, the money is just a reflection of how effective you are at leadership. That's all it is. So if you look at someone's house, you look at someone who lives in an oppressive environment, that's not really that, like, I don't need this big of a place. I don't. But what does that show other people? It shows other people that you're able to just calm down, sit down, and just like figure some stuff out. Like, you made some mistakes, you failed, you got some money, you lost some money, maybe you lost all of it. I've been broke multiple times, and that sucks. But you were willing to audit, even though that also sucks. Auditing sucks because you're admitting like you have to stop and then get back and go back to the beginning and then change direction. You can't just like change directions, right? So, but this is what we're doing, was they're taking an audit of all the different types of capital in your life that are just like little levers that move the needle forward in all the areas of your life, not just in your business, right? But again, this is how you transcend away from the mind. There's a mind game that your mind's playing with you. Why is it that if I want to go talk to this beautiful woman, or, you know, I want to go, reach out to this person, or blah, 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 as soon as I go to step 2, like, my mind lies to myself and I just don't do it. Like, I get distracted. Someone says, oh, cool, look at this little cat meme. Oh, really? Wow. How was your lunch today? Oh, must have tasted so good, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, where did the time go? You ever seen that happen? You just get pulled. So in other words, like, write this down. People are attacking my time. People are not because they're bad, not, but that's just how life is. Like, people are actually like literally going to like really be chasing down your time. And you have to be the one that has that kind of boundary, that guardrail around your time, because you're clear on what is important to you. And this is the next step for you guys, is I want you to write down all the things that you're telling yourself. When I hit the 20K, then I'll go on that trip. Like, forget about how you're going to get to that 20K. I want you to focus on what are those things that will actually help you to live life. Right? Driving across the country, traveling somewhere. Doesn't have to be far away. Maybe it's doing a hobby and a passion that you like to do growing up. Why are you waiting to give yourself permission to do that type of stuff? Basically what I'm asking you is, like, what is important for you to get what you want? Not to look a certain way, but to do the things that you actually be wanting to do. So if I'm having fun right now, like, I would kick someone out who says I'm having too much fun working. Because guess what? When you make the money, aren't you going to spend it on shit that you're going to have fun doing? That's my point. That's the whole idea, guys. Like, you're trying to get this money to go do shit you love and have fun with. Why aren't you having fun coaching? Why aren't you having fun selling? Why aren't you having fun fucking making content and closing the deal? Why aren't you having that self-amusing attitude? But this is how we mitigate this whole, like, oh, I feel drained, I'm so tired, I'm so complacent, I can't implement shit. Yeah, because you're not giving yourself permission to enjoy yourself now. And if I strain my voice, I will not have enough gas left in the tank for the whole day that I have planned ahead of me. So this is about energy allocation, right? How am I allocating my energy? I need to pace my energy throughout the day. This is why I do active recovery, cold plunge, sauna, nature. I have to do that because life is like a gym membership that you're already paying for. Modern society is like a gym membership you're already paying for. This is why we're having you go a little bit deeper into these things that you want to buy, things you want to do, These are day-to-day inspirations. What are the things you want to buy? What do you want to buy a different car? Do you want to buy a different place to live in? Do you want to go travel some places? Write these things down. So we get excited about us and move towards that vision, not the money. Does that make sense? This is abundance. This is how you be at that resonance. And this is, see, most people can't resonate with prosperity. So what do? They self-sabotage. It's too much light. It's too much sun. Too much awesomeness. Too much positivity. Too much gratitude, right? Anyone who's not happy, they just have low gratitude. That's all. Okay? So those are the things that are the day-to-day inspirations. What are your petty self motivations? Those consist of, oh, my parents will fully see me. They'll be proud of me. My ex will watch me winning and they'll just be kicking themselves. Like, that's not good to live in, but let that be a short-term inspiration. You have to acknowledge that, like, God gave you that little petty ego to drive something within you. You just don't want to live there, just like you don't want to live in the material gain inspirations. But it's important to let that be something that pulls you forward, right? Because the third one is what? The higher self inspirations of your higher values, your higher vision for the world, right? Amplifying connection, abundance, freedom, love. That's what we do at our company. So what are those transcendent reasons as to why your soul chose to come to this planet to contribute your gifts? That's the only thing that your soul is going to care about. It's not the stuff you bought, right? It's not that necessarily even the external recognition you got. It's why you chose to live your life the way that you lived it. Those are the higher self motivations. That this is what keeps you out of overwhelm. Because what's this doing? It's raising your standards. When you raise your standards, you cultivate the energy. When you have low standards or you forgot about your high standards, you feel apathetic, don't you? You get distracted, don't you? You doom scroll on Instagram. You're at the effect of life rather than the cause. Okay? But this is stuff that gets you leverage on your own identity so that you really move with that type of physiology as if you're that person now who's already constantly doing this type of stuff every day, even if it's just pretend, even if it's just visualization, you'll attract that, right? You'll attract those opportunities because you'll be at that resonance. So your mind will actually see the opportunity that was always there. It's just that because you weren't being able to control your own state, your mind literally shuts off all the opportunities that are here, but your mind shuts it off because you're not in the belief that you can have that. You're not actually connecting to your own clear vision, not just your vision, but clear vision. Every leadership program, business, whatever, they say, what's your vision? Yay. But then you invest and then you forget to do that every fucking day. That's a problem. That's a problem. It's going to drain you. That'll drain you more than anything, not having a clear vision of why you want what you want. So when you're sitting there on the couch apathetic, it's because you just have to choose to fucking say, I choose to connect to my vision, to my why. Okay. So that's that. Then the next piece of audit is I want you to take an audit of the social capital in your life. Just, you don't have to write down the list, but just write the word social capital. Social capital, it consists of your network. It consists of high status people, wealthy people, and it also consists of attractive women. Okay. This isn't about spirituality or blah, blah, blah. I'm really just showing you how the game is rigged. Okay. So you just understand that attractive women, just even if they're not intellectual, not cool like Nikki, not fucking awesome in a vibe, she has passions. She's a high quality, beautiful woman. But even if they are just beautiful, you could create an opportunity for those beautiful women to become something more abundantly authentic, let's just say, right? But just I'm showing you that, like, if, let's just say I had a story about a girl that I knew who was like complaining to me, Theo, why are these guys like, treating me this way on the Bumble app? I don't even have Bumble. She's like, yeah. I'm like, just show me your pictures. And it's like all her like half naked. I'm like, what do you expect? You're putting a signal out, you're broadcasting that signal. You can't like not like get mad at that, right? So I'm just trying to show that's just kind of the nature of what we're the context of what like type of stuff that we're talking about. So there's the network social capital, okay? People with a big following, that's another example, right? They have big lists usually. They have engaged lists. They have warm lists where you could find a synergy with those people. See that? Okay. Skill set capital. That's high paid skill sets. How good are you at marketing? Basically, like, okay, here's who it's for. Here's why it's important to you. Result, and then here's what to avoid, and here's how you get there the best. That's basically like what marketing is. And call to action, right? If it's not polarizing, it's not really high value. Basically, that's what, all marketing is designed to change behavior and get people to take action. That's really what marketing is designed to do. Okay. And how do you change behavior? You change beliefs, don't you? That's what sales is too. That's what coaching is too. It shouldn't be any different, right? Money is just on the back end of a sales conversation. That should really only be the difference. The only difference, the nuance though, is that in sales, you're not solving the problem, you're finding the bigness of the problem and the complexity of the problem. This is what we talk about, like, like irresistible, compelling offer is like, you have to understand the complexity of all those like mini problems within the big problem. Does that make sense? Right? Okay, so that's skill set capital. Closing sales is also a high skill set. And public speaking, okay? Public speaking. Copywriting. Skill set capital, right? In public speaking is, a form of charisma. Charisma, public speaking, they're kind of somewhat interchangeable. Okay, emotional and spiritual capital, write that down. Right? Now, how do you audit that? Well, it's really about seeing that not doing stuff is a form of productivity. It's just a different type of productivity, right? So how often throughout the day do you just connect with God? Do you connect with source? Do you connect with nature? Do you connect with your soul? Do you connect with something that is like transcendent of the physical relationships that you have? Like, do you actually have a relationship with God, or do you not? This is not a church, so I'm not trying to make you do a thing you don't want to do, but I'm just sharing what's been really valuable for me. Okay? This is how you never stay in the pit of pain and despair, the death valley. Okay? So that's high paid skill set, or sorry, emotional, spiritual capital. Physical capital, how strong is your body? Okay? What things are that's a capital. Why is that? Well, it's because now you're conscious of, when you're eating food, of your exercise routines. What you say yes or no to putting in your body. That's basically what it is. Okay, because when you're eating fried chicken, like, that's time you could have spent eating something healthy. And that's opportunity cost. All the things in my life, I'm filtering them through all these capitals because I know every choice I make has what? An opportunity cost on some level. That also goes for conversations that I'm having. If I know how much money someone makes per year, I know the opportunity cost of speaking with that person. Now, I know that sounds really arrogant, but that's how you become world-class in entrepreneurship, is you have to cut out conversations or limit conversations with people. And you don't need to be like, what do you do for a living? Like right out the gate. But if you know what someone does for a living, you pretty much know how much money you make, which pretty much shows you the level of thinking that they're capable of. Right? Make sense? Just remember, it's not your strategy or tactic that gets in the way. It's your level of thinking, okay? Anything else? Any other questions? We're going to go into, I think, one more capital. I'm just trying to think of it from the top of my head. I think that's pretty much it, actually. Business capital. Oh, no, you don't really need to worry about like business capital. But I guess business capital is like, what type of equipment are you, do you have at your access to, right? Like that goes for like camera gear, video editing stuff, all like just any kind of softwares or whatever. Like it's just, it's valuable to just be conscious of like, hey, if I'm going to make more sales, well, maybe I could put some of that cash flow into improving my camera quality or mics or whatever, right? Is another thing. And that kind of also goes into like your team, but yeah. And then of course the last one is time capital, which is like why we're really we're doing this kind of diagnosis. So this time capital is also very important, because when you like how you're setting up your day-to-day life, right? You want a mix of routine and novelty, right? When you're just going through the same hum-ho, like you're really not that much different from like a slave, right? That's like why I said, like, when will the time come when you will let yourself live your life? Okay. It's kind of funny, right? But again, when you have new experiences, what does that do? It shifts your perspective on things, doesn't it? And that's how you become a great communicator, as you travel, right? You see the world. You meet different types of people who see the world differently, which makes you even better communicator. That's why all the most brilliant marketers are so good at dumbing down their messaging, because that's like it takes a certain level of brilliance to dumb down something. Okay. When I saw John Mayer perform live, I'm like, holy shit, man. He's the most insane blues guitar player I ever seen. But that was his live show. Now, how did he attract all those leads to the live show? He made some little like, your body is a wonderland. It's like dumbed down pop songs, right? So then he got the record deal, got the millions, and now he's more free and flexible to be creative in how his soul genuinely wants to be creative. But again, he's an example of someone who kind of played the game, so he got that. And I think so many coaches are too creative in their business in the beginning, and they don't actually just fucking copy paste shit to like actually learn how this works. That's how I became good at copyright. Is I just literally took someone else's emails that I responded to, and I'm like, okay, copy paste, boom, and I just tweaked it, obviously. So I'm not telling you to steal, but I'm definitely telling you to not try to recreate the wheel. And it just blows my mind, dude. Like, how our creativity can sometimes be a double-edged sword. Okay. Is this helping you guys to understand how to organize yourself, organize your time more effectively? What about your space, your living space? Is it messy? Is it clean? If you ever find yourself looking at a messy house, that's just a perfect symbol for the state of your mind, the state of your emotional wellness. And so one way to get back into emotional wellness is to just clean up your fucking room. There's a reason why our parents said clean your room. All right. And so then, okay. So any shares? Anyone want to share what you came up with? You guys been typing some notes? What do you want to share?
I appreciate the piece on mixing up routine and bringing in some novelty. I feel like I've been in like a flow that, and then I get caught too much in that flow and recreating and doing something until it dies. So the novelty piece is really helpful.
Okay. What else? Share some more stuff around that.
Yeah, I've just been noticing I'm like I get in these zones where like I mentioned earlier, my routine kind of actually starts to sabotage me because I get so caught up in thinking I'm not ready yet almost to like do the thing. Like I need to get more regulated, or I need to, there's more things to fucking do, but actually I'm ready right now. And like, that's what you said, I think at the beginning of this call, like you could have had a family member die just before you got on this call and you're like stepping in. I think more of that, more of like leaning in when I don't think I'm ready and knowing I can actually regulate in one deep breath instead of 20 minutes of meditation is pretty helpful. Like I've already got it,
Good job.
I have a couple shares.
Yeah, sure.
First, it was all super valuable. I was taking a ton of notes. I think one of my biggest opportunities that I'm not currently tapping into the resourcefulness of is my social capital. Like I have a super high quality network of just like amazing people and companies and people that I could partner with and like create win-wins.
Yeah.
And like I'm so resourced, and I think kind of what you mentioned of being like almost too hyper fixated, and I'm not seeing all the opportunities that are just.
You know why? You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because you're not. This is how I live. I have the fucking horse blinders on. And I'm like, I want to go travel. I want to go to epic places. I want to go buy that shit. I want to go do this thing. I want to go take my friends out. I want to go pay for shit. I want to go take care of my family. I want to like do stuff that on my own time with the people I love and not have to worry about shit. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to, and that sounds very selfish, doesn't it? Right? But you have to start with you. Because if you don't like what you're doing and and how you're doing it, and you're not just focused on just your shit, think about all the people grabbing and vying for your attention. If I said yes to all the people who say, hey, let's go get a coffee, let's go gym this, gym that, like all these people, like if I said yes to, I'm not saying like one time won't like affect my life, but if I said yes to all those people, then that becomes my fucking standard. Then what happens? What if I want to go spend time with myself? What if I want to go spend time with my family? What if I want to pay my team better? What if I want to spend more time making this program better for you? But no, guys, sorry, all of you guys, I have to go spend a coffee with a random man that I just met. Sorry, team, I can't pay you more money so you can grow in the company because I had to go on a date with a random man or some like girl I'm not actually like interested in, connecting with on a deeper level. But that becomes my standard. If I say yes to all those things, that I'm not clearly auditing what is this taking on the back end. Because it's giving you something on the front end. So someone made you feel special. They said, I would love to pick your brain. And you say, oh, yeah, I get to have them pick my brain. Or you need to have an attitude like, pick your fucking payment method to pick my brain. because it's going to hurt that person more. If you give them advice, they will not implement. They'll think it feels cool to learn it, but they won't do it. So you're hurting everybody. You're wasting your own time, and you're wasting their time too, and in some way, shape, or form. Does that make sense? Now, again, what's the like added iteration is most of the time, okay? Don't turn this into dogma. I'm just saying as a general rule of thumb, I'm not saying don't give friends advice. I'm not saying don't, meet up with a new acquaintance. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying that is just be more mindful of how many distractions are chasing you down and burning your time capital. Burning all of that opportunity cost. That goes for all these different types of conversations. Say this out loud, invisible threads. Or say this out loud, infinite invisible threads. Infinite invisible threads is, and this is where we'll land the plane on this call because I love this topic. Infinite invisible threads implies that in any conversation, there's always an infinite. But before I go into this, is there anything else you want to share? Because I think that what you had was pretty powerful.
I think, well, that actually, my response relates to what you said of kind of the very first question of what things are like draining my time or what am I saying yes to through the lens of like, is this getting me closer or further to where I want to be?
Yes.
And the things that came to mind when you mentioned, why am I not traveling right now? I want location freedom and all these things. Yet I'm saying yes to like random in-person events. And I'm like, oh, I feel stuck here. It's like, well, I said yes to that. So same.
And then when you go to work, then you feel that much more pressure. Yeah. But like, think about that, right? Think about how much more time that frees up so that when you go to work, you have more time to just do it.
And I'm thinking, I got a lot of clarity this past week or so around like, no, I do want to be 100% remote and like phasing out of the things that are not allowing that in, kind of transitioning out. And then now every action going forward, asking through the lens of like, is this getting me closer to like not trading my time for dollars? Is this getting me closer to like scaling my app, which is like my main goal? Or am I just kind of being half into a bunch of things?
Yeah,
so, making decisions from that standard, I guess, would be another word.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Okay, this is the nuance of like what I'm trying to get across to you all is that like if it's a scenario or some event or blah 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 that you are letting yourself get pulled into, worst case scenario, like you should just take off the whole, you should take off the whole like CEO hat on and use that time to raise your vibration, right? So like when I go out to like, for instance, like what it's called, the Brunson Beats thing, like I'm literally just full retard mode. Like I'm just literally like, ha ha ha, like my mind is just loose and just, I'm in this, what's called lateral thinking. So lateral thinking is creativity and fun and joy. Whereas linear thinking is in business. Linear is if I do this input, then this will happen. If I do this, then this will happen. Or maybe this other thing will happen, right? So it's very systems building is what really business is all about. It's about testing and tweaking. But it's constant refinement. There's no completion and there's no perfection. If you're a perfectionist, you're going to fail in business. So does that make sense? How like I'm showing you how I like wire my mind in my consciousness. Is that like I set up my life like with like energy allocation, with taking a deep breath and being like, okay, do I feel that it would raise my vibe and energy to be in my lateral fun vibes and use this time to actively recover and just allow myself to live life? Or is it, does that make sense, right? So that's what I'm saying is like, you can use that time effectively so that you know, you're not saying to yourself, like, while you're spending this time at this other event of like, oh, but I should be building in in my DMs, or oh, I should be doing this. Like, don't, if you're gonna do it, just fucking do it all in. Make sense?
Yeah.
There should never be a part of you that's like, why am I here? Like, if that's the case, then fucking leave. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Right? Just leave. Right? Go home and go do something that you want to do. Like, that's really as how simple it is. You know, like, if you're really enjoying yourself, great, fantastic. But again, just remember the quality of people who are there. High level or low level. Okay, high level or low level. To put this very simply, it's literally just like Tai Lopez's strategic 33%, or like 33% with mentors, 33% of peers, 33% of people who you're helping up. Okay, and peers equals like, okay, they make similar money than me. They have maybe a similar career as me, similar age range as me. Relationship status isn't relevant. But that's like a peer group you're enjoying growing together, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't transcend your mentor, you know, because every mentor wants their clients to transcend them. But again, like, that could happen, okay? But I'm just saying, generally, that's kind of like let's just say the balance of whose words and energies and thinking you want to be absorbing just in general. Like, that's how I like to see it, honestly. All right. So because like, that's why when I come to these calls, I'm like this kind of like fire hose. I'm just like, boom, right? Because like a lot of the day, I'm not really speaking that much. Like, I'm actually listening, taking notes from people who I'm learning from. I'm listening to my friends, or I'm sharing with them. But like most of my time isn't spent in this like go, go, go clown mode. Does that make sense? You have to put things into perspective here. Okay? Don't have this assumption that like, whoa, how am I ever like, you're gonna, in your mind, just gonna play a trick on you and be like, oh, but Theo's this way. How do I model Theo? No. This is a show. I'm putting on a performance, and it's just me doing this kind of CEO role. But like, when I'm not on the call, I'm not just like, because what will happen? I'm burnt out. I'll fry my nervous system. So when I'm performing, I'm doing this. I'm engaging my nervous system like this. I'm engaging my nervous system. Just do that. Engaging your nervous system. I'm engaging my nervous system, right? But I also need to do things like meditation to release the energy out of the eyes to heal the nervous system and help it recover. So I receive the source energy, let it build up, boom, receive the presence, and then boom, I can channel it back out. But it's give and take. It's not just give, because then you'll burn out and you'll be bitter. But it's not just take, because if you don't give, then you're not going to make money. You're just going to just sit there and just be like a Buddhist monk. Does that make sense? So when I meditate, I don't know about you, but I feel like I want to go fucking crush it. Like, win. I'm not like, oh, like that meditation was so great. Like, I just want to do nothing now. It's like, no, you meditate to execute, baby. So you have an easier time at executing. Like, if it's easy, I'm not saying life is easy. What I'm saying is that it's a frame of mind that you're bringing that ease into the challenge of things, of making a difference in your life. Does that make sense? Ease. Okay, so just remember, that is the theme of this call, is that the more you soften, the more you relax, the more you begin to realize that in the present moment, and only in the present moment, do you realize that this money stuff and this success stuff is for you. But when you're contracted physiologically, you feel as if it's not for you. Because you're usually, the subconscious is like, well, I'm in the have-not paradigm. When you relax, why do you think the best marketing is always like, they're just relaxing on the beach. It makes you feel as if you're there. Why do you have to wait till you're on the beach to feel into that vision, to feel into that? Because if you feel as if you're there, you're going to embody that type of communication. You're going to embody that type of action because you're coming from this being paradigm. Like it's already happened. Like I remember in that last year, that call on June 17th at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, when we were all at this level of business. And now like right now we're having this conversation. Right now we're having this new conversation, and it's 2025 and we're already at multiple, like everybody here is generating at least $50,000 a month, $50,000 a month. Right? Next year you're making $50,000 a month. Right? What does that unlock inside of you? Eye contact, body language, physiology, vocal tonality, how good you are at projecting, but also vacuum, silencio, letting your silence speak volumes, letting your silence demonstrate the what, subcommunicate the what, your status, high status. When you have high status in your mind, what happens? What happens?
You become high status.
Your free creative thinking comes online. You're free associative. You're hilarious. You got all the right things to say in the moment. Anything you say just works naturally. You're witty. You're quick. You're fast. You're on the ball. You're clear. You're fucking potent. That's what you are. When you feel your low status, you'll catch yourself in your day-to-day life, probably even today. When you walk out into the world, you perceive, and it's just only a perception. It's only a canary in your mind. You perceive your lower status in someone, you get shoved in your head, and you placate, right? You placate, you pedestalize people. You feel like you can't be funny. And what you're doing is so has this ever happened to you where you felt so good that the moment an opportunity came to you, though, in real life, you got cold feet because you were afraid to lose the validation? You're like, my state is so good. Oh, wait, but that's something I want to do, or someone I want to talk to. I'm just not going to approach because I want to maintain my state. Has that ever happened to you? Like, I'm afraid of my state going down from rejection because I want to keep and retain the validation. Has that ever happened to you? Yeah. What about this? I know for sure you can relate with this. What happens like when something is going very well in an interaction? It could be in business. It could be in dating. It could be just, day-to-day life. But it's almost as if you feel so good that it's almost like you feel so good that you actually eject like before you, like, let's say you want to take it to the next level. I think this is a little bit more common with guys, since we're generally supposed to be the ones who lead, but it also applies to women in business. Is like the minute you feel like you want to take the lead to the sale, like you're afraid of losing that validation. So you kind of just dip out and you're like, okay, well, nice to talk to you. Bye. Instead of like, no, wait, hold on a second. Like your state was pumped. You had a high state. They were pumped, but because you were enjoying that interaction so much, you felt that like if you led to some other thing, that you didn't want to like poop in that situation and kind of like ride out and maybe come at them later. Has that ever happened to you? Again, you're leading with the validation. Say that out loud. I'm leading with the validation. That's what's happening, really, right? This is huge, very nuanced stuff that like I only say for my private communities because it takes time to explain all the different canaries and nuances. It makes sense? But when your mind engages with the present moment from receiving these codes, again, this is a transmission beyond just the words. Your mind engages with the present moment and you start to see intuitively the middle path I'm trying to carve out for you. But first I need to kind of show you the polar extremes, like Moses parting the waters, and then you can walk down the middle path. Does that make sense? Because a simple mind, a low sophistication mind, a low level mind will be like, just give me the easy thing to believe and say and do, and they just want a simple truth to feed their ego, and they can't take in a nuanced concept, which is why they're not going to make big money. Make sense? But does that make sense? How you just want to kind of like catch yourself when you're in those situations, and just remember what I said. Remember what I said. Are you leading with validation, or are you validating yourself? Frame control is state control. I'm a 10 out of 10, right? I focus on my positive qualities. My physiology follows that. Self-fulfilling prophecy, then I get reinforcement from the outside socially, right? And then that social validation reinforces that belief. And guess what? It also increases my dopamine. So does this make sense? How what we're doing is we're cultivating an understanding of, like, everybody can be like meeting somebody and be like, yeah, we should totally hang out. But most people don't understand how to create the rapport and trust where when you follow up with someone, someone actually follows up with you. Does that ever happen? Like, they basically don't ghost on you, basically. Make sense? And this is very subtle. It's energetic. But when you are leading with validation, people feel that. They just don't know how to explain it. It's not conscious to them. But when you are like, you're implementing this framework in your own mind as you go to meet the world and have conversations, people will feel influenced by you because they'll feel like you don't need shit from them. You do not need shit from them. It's very, very subtle. Sometimes your mind can't even catch yourself when you're in a needy paradigm and when you're in a have-not paradigm. But you can subtly sometimes feel it if you go really, if you soften and you really tune in to your own like stomach. It's like this really low refrigerator hum of like fear. Make sense? Now, fear is your teacher. Write that down. Fear is my teacher. Fear shows you the path to alchemy. It shows you the path to becoming. So when you take that action, that is what alignment really is, because that is the death of your false self that just gets triggered and leaves. Right? Oh, that's not. Spiritual people do this all the time. Oh, it doesn't feel aligned. No, you're scared and you can't take action despite the fear. That's the truth. and I'm not perfect. Like, of course, there's times when I feel scared and I fucking shoot myself in the foot. So I just want you to understand that I'm not perfect at this at all. I'm just aware of what it will take. And I have little frameworks in my mind to be like, oh, access to my own divine will, access to transcendent flow and joy, access to my own discernment. But that access to the will, number one, access to my own independent will, access to independent states of flow and joy, and access to my own discernment, that's like the trifecta, of creating self-generated influence and positive vibes and high vibes. You see how it's independent of anything external? You see how that's an inner versus outer flywheel that just builds on itself? Because the opposite alternative that you have, my friends and clients, is waiting for permission, waiting for the validation, and then being kind of like addicted to that flywheel. And this is a very dangerous place to be in. I've had clients who have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they have such a hard time at like implementing things that you actually just need to do as a CEO, but they're pretending like they're above that stuff. But I'm telling them, but this is why you're not making the money that you should be making, because you're unwilling to just do basic stuff like have conversations, right? And like change your content a bit. But they're like, oh, but I have all this validation from all the content that I post. I'm like, but you can't deposit those in the bank. You can deposit money in the bank, but you can't deposit your follower account in the bank, can you? You see how that's a very dangerous, right? So what they're doing is they're filtering their own validation of self through the validation that they're already getting from the outside. And it's a very dangerous flywheel to be in. In fact, like I truly believe, my mentors have told me that when you become more successful, like the devil tries to fuck with you even more. But it's just that like you're at the level where you can handle that. Does it make sense? Like I can't say how many successful my friends, like your mind thinks that like the future is so overwhelming. I'm gonna slow down so you can catch this. Your mind basically has this story that like, if I struggle to get to here, then when I'm over there, oh my God, how the hell am I going to handle that? Right? And it's all very overwhelming. Then you self-sabotage. But just remind yourself, right, that when you're making more money in the future, that's a new version of you. Now, the real you is never changes. It's the observer consciousness. It's the source consciousness, is God, right? But the future you will have higher skill, higher bandwidth, because you'll be investing more into your health and vitality, higher social capital, higher money resources to be able to hire, get it, higher support around you. Get it? So you'll be able to afford the new level of challenge. But I don't want you to think that like, hey, it's so hard, struggle. No, I'm trying to show you that like you are right now, all of you, if you're below 20K a month, you're at this like pinnacle where you're building a fire with these sticks, right? And it's really hard. But once you get that spark going, you just have to understand that it doesn't get harder. It actually, you have to lean back more. So I want you to have in your mind that like, now is the time to make the sacrifices. Now is the time to invest. Now is the time to go all in and commit, fully commit to results. Because I can promise you that if you don't fix these limiting beliefs now, all that shit will be just downsourced to your team and it will all get magnified at scale. It will all get magnified at scale. All your little holes in your nurture process, all your lack of following up and lack of pre-framing the calls with text to like say, hey, I'm excited to find out more about you, blah, blah, blah. Right? All the lack of being able to handle objections and make down sells and cross sells and re-signs and all these things, keeping clients on board and stuff like that, making sure people pay on time and not feeling weird about it, not making it weird, like all this stuff, right? It's going to all be exposed at scale. So it's just really good to just make sure that you don't overhire too much. How is this call for you guys? Is this valuable for you? Okay, let's get some shares, then we're going to wrap it up. What was most valuable for you? Ben, what did you love? What did you learn? And what's the biggest action step you're going to tweak from today? Like actual action in your life. Instead of just having a massive journal of notes that like they're just sitting in your journal.
Yeah, I think I love what you ended on with, like, now's the time to go all in, like making these sacrifices now to pay off for that, building the fire. And I mean, there are so many things in today, but I think I don't have a lot of leaks, I think my biggest leak right now is just that I'm too hermited up. I'm like closed up in my house thinking I need to keep producing content, keep following the checklist, keep engaging people, blah, 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 and actually getting the fuck out of my house at least once a day and like getting in some nature and or engaging with some people in the way, and the practicing more of the lateral state of being is actually going to bring me more balance, combined with, just continuing to commit to going all in on this. And I commit to that. So
nice. Yeah. Yeah. And again, there's levels to this, right? There's infinite ways that you can create, which is like when I was in Boston and I was first starting my business, like I would go out of the house and I would like make content outside, I would do lives outside. And it taught me a very powerful lesson that like, once I was out there, even though I was making less than 10K, I'm like, there's nothing I'd rather be fucking doing than sharing content and being able to just go wherever the fuck I want to go and adding value to the world. Like that was the shit. I'm like, I don't care how much money I make from this. This is the shit. Like I literally I'm like on my phone, expressing myself, practicing being an authority and all that shit. Like that was awesome. that was so cool, man. Like I would even film videos pretending like I was like in a hotel. And I would just like pretend, right? That I was like in a hotel, get it? So like the backdrop was all dope and shit. And I'm like, yeah. Right?
In the lobby.
Yeah, it's kind of like you go to a clothing store and you try on new clothes, right? And it was a very cool experience to give myself that novelty and expand my mind in such a way, right? All right, because so you can use that time, again, use that time capital to be creative. Sometimes you will go out and not want to do stuff with business, and that's fine, but there's definitely ways that you don't need to be like a prisoner in your house. But you can definitely tell when you've taken it too far and you are not taking action in the business and you're getting too distracted with conversations that lead to nowhere. Good shit. Who's next? Yeah, go ahead.
Mine's kind of my same share from earlier of, I would say, looking at my, like, kind of taking the blinders off. It's like looking around, like, where am I not utilizing my opportunities? And then I would say, I think just doing a more thorough audit of all these things and then getting super clear on like what gets to be phased out and like just zooming out to then like narrow my focus.
Yeah, and when you do these things, okay, you need to centralize your experience. So in your mind, right? Like I can always tell in people's when they're talking to me, like my avatar, and I want you to practice talking past me. Like I want you to actually go in your body and like speak from your core, right? Your heart, your core. You can trigger this by just placing, your hand here. And you can just like stay here, right? Don't get out here, stay in here and speak like this, right? Past, like I'm looking in your eyes, but others, my peripherals, right, are surrounding you. It's almost my voice is like like a blanket, right? Not just going towards you, but it's going to, if there are people sitting here, there's people sitting here. I want to make sure that they win. I want to make sure that the people over there also benefit, even though I'm just like directly talking to you. But I can't do that if I'm like ping, 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 ping. How do I like be liked by everybody? I have to stay in my body and actually listen to what like my body in a way. It's weird. It's almost like my presence is here and you think it's coming out of here, but it's actually coming from deep within here. It's like a foundation. You see that? You have to trust your body knows what to do. It's just that you're so used to being in this mental world of content, but I want to teach you how to get into energy. And one exercise that you can do, that we'll do after this call, because I want to respect your time, is I want you to basically see if you can talk about something that is boring. Okay, whether that be with a friend or the wall even, or a tree. And your job is to essentially talk about stream of consciousness, but it has to be a boring piece of content and you have to make it sound so epic with your tonality. So if I say, the blanket was fluffy, right? Most people would say the blanket was fluffy. But if the exercise is to play around with the emotional meaning from your tonality, but not have it match with the meaning of the words, like not match it with the logic of the words. So that could sound like, so the blanket was fuzzy. Ah, like that shouldn't make sense. Well, what that's doing is scrambling your social conditioning in your own mind. But this is how you get out of your head. You see that? The state control. I'm in your head now. You see how like every once in a while I just like laugh at my own dumbass fucking comments because I don't care what you think. That's what makes me attractive, magnetic. And it's a skill. I was the biggest introvert, the biggest self-absorbed Oh my God, what are people thinking of me? And there's always, we all crave acceptance. So there's that too. But I had it the worst. But I had hit a frustration threshold when I said, fuck this, man. Like, I got to do something about this. And it wasn't until my mentor said, like, the fact that you can't go up and talk to people like every day and anyone at any place, like, without looking good, without having money in your bank, like, if you can't do that, you are not, that's not normal. There's some stuff you need to heal. And I'm like, what that did was it raised my standards dramatically, and it got me to take action, honestly, on like actually just getting in the game and like forcing myself into these scary, uncomfortable situations where I'd be like going out to the nightclub sober. That's terrifying because everyone is out there having a good time and you're sober, and it forces you to learn how to socialize without having that kind of liquid numbing substance in your body, to just let yourself be free and let yourself share that with people. And that's where a lot of this abundance confidence comes from. And people feel that because they feel like, are you believing this fucking bullshit social conditioning that like not every set is open, not every conversation is open? Like, the way I think is that every single conversation is already open. Before I talk to someone, it's already on. Say that out loud. Before I talk to someone, it's already fucking on. Our rapport is already there. I'm just assuming that. What does that do? It's the frame, right? It's the self-generated, self-fulfilling prophecy. And what happens is they fall into your belief system frame. This is very powerful stuff. Do you see how that's going to make a massive difference? And, oh, should I approach them? Oh, should I not? Oh, they look busy. Self-judgment, decision fatigue, persona fatigue. No, massive action allows you to stop thinking. And what happens is that something takes over you and you lose a sense of self. And if you've ever accessed flow in any flow state activity, you disappear. There is no you. There's just the now. And you're just like, whoa, there's no me, right? Like if you like surfing, right? Like when you're surfing, that you're just one with everything and there's no like character that you're playing. That's how you know you've hit that transcendent state. And that's why I like to use socializing as a way to kind of get myself out of my own way, to get myself out of my head of like needing it to be a certain way. And then I just rip the DMs. Like I used to rip the DMs hardcore, like every day, but I would put myself into that state of being without, because it is easy to, go on social media. And why is it that sometimes you see the person's profile and then you just get distracted by some other reel and then you never actually message them? That's what I mean by these canaries in the mind of how your mind, it's a mind game that you have to understand how to transcend out of that. And this is about massive action. This is about saying, I'm me and I have a business, but I'm not my business, like identification with your business. And then it's self-amusement, like find something funny about that interaction, minimize time in between interactions. So don't like wait a fucking year to then talk to the next person. Talk to every single person, and as soon, even if they don't make eye contact with you, but especially when you make eye contact with them, you need to walk step right at them and start walking towards them and talk to them. Because if you hesitate, doesn't matter what the situation is though, like there's going to be some awkwardness that you bring on and it's not going to go well. And that is an analogy for life. Carpe diem, seize the moment. Right? So when this is how you can use your relationships in your life or meeting new people in your life as a skill set to be able to like apply that also into your business of like instant execution and wanting the skill more than you want the outcome. When you want the skill more than you want the outcome, then what you're doing is you're playing the long game volume knob versus the light switch, have or have not, short game. Now, the last thing I'll say to kind of fully summarize this whole call is that most things in your environment take from you on the back end and give you some dopamine on the front end. But what you're learning how to do is use socializing either with yourself or with your dog or with people, right? Or your clients or whatever. You're using that as saying like boom, 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 law of averages, sales flow is when I'm just in this vibration of like data, like more reference points, because then on the end of the night, like when I would go out with my friends, and I still do this sometimes, and they're drinking, they're charismatic in the beginning, and I'm stuck in my head in the beginning. But then as the night progresses, because I'm taking myself through this, like open to everybody, talk to everybody, don't judge, just talk to the lady, the guy, the bouncer, everybody. I hit this transcendent flow towards the end of the peak of the night. And I'm the one who's everyone's like vying for my attention. They apps all over me. And I'm not even like talking. It's just like I'm in this electric state that they feel. And they're like, they love me. I don't know why. They're just like laughing. They're kissing me on the cheek. They're like, oh my God, you're so hilarious. I'm sober. And then there's all my friends fucking wasted and sloppy as fuck. So the tables have turned, my friends. The tables have turned. Because again, I'm riding that long wave. You see that how I'm creating that long-term wave of momentum? That's an upward spiral of momentum. But too many people, what do they want? They want the instant gratification, and that's why they drink the alcohol. Because it works. That's the thing, it works. It gets you out of your head. But what does it do to your fucking brain? It pokes holes in your brain so your brain looks like Swiss cheese. Smoke the weed. Watch the TikTok. Drink the booze, right? That's the world. That's the society you live in. So all I'm trying to do, y'all, is just trying to show you that if you're paying for the gym membership of living in capitalist modern society, then just use it. Let yourself buy awesome stuff and get rich. You'll realize it's easier to be rich. Just is. It's hard to be broke. It's harder. You have to understand that. It's easier to be rich. It's easier to have a lot of money. But it's a lot harder to be worrying about how you're going to pay the bills. That's harder. But do you see how there's a part of you that is having a hard time at accepting that? But what I'm doing is I'm breaking your frame, and I'm helping you to see from my paradigm so you can adopt that in your own mind, and you can take out the fucking outdated blueprint in your head and insert the right blueprint. Does that make sense? It's a total paradigm shift, doesn't it? You feel it, don't you? Standards, tolerance. It's a fulcrum, right? Low standards, high tolerance. High standards, low tolerance. Okay? This is never ending. So I'm trying to show you, okay, yeah, use your gym membership that you're already fucking paying for. You're already paying the system, dude. But I'm also helping you to see that like you get to choose to live life now too, and enjoy your free time now too, so that you don't just become this prisoner in a golden prison, enslaved to your fucking phone, enslaved to your business. And then living that story of like, oh, when I make the next million, then I'll let myself have that vacation, right? When I make this next million, then I'll finally contribute to charities. Why? You don't need to contribute money. You can contribute your time. Not a big deal. Be that wealthy person now. Okay? Because guess what? The greatest gift is the gift of giving. Do you get that? It's not taking. And the secret language of abundant people is giving. Like, do you understand that? It's the secret gift of people who have a lot of money is like just finding ways to add value first. That's the secret language of is the gift of giving. And so when you make more money, you can give better, bigger, and more just in integrity with, you know, yourself. And that's pretty sweet. Okay, so we just took a long call to suss this out for yourself, but I'm really glad that you're able to go within yourself and find out like what do you want this life to be, dude? You know, what are the levers that will either move you forward, move you back, so you could stop doing certain things and start adopting new things, right? Or better yet, there's a third one. Keep doing certain things that are working. There's certain things that you are doing that are working, and don't forget to acknowledge that. And this is kind of like where we help you to see that simple is what scales, not complex. Okay, good shit. Good shit. Good shit. Good shit. See, when you realize that you give someone a compliment, tell a story, make someone giggle and laugh, and just be self-amusing, and you share that energy with someone is like, haha, I love it, right? That's adding value, which shows us that, like, why is it that I dropped 30K on a Hawaii trip on a boat? Well, it's because money isn't real. It's just all a byproduct of relationships. Does that make sense? Like, you need to be in that kind of abundance mentality of seeing yourself as the type of person who could just drop 20K in a day and be like, oh yeah, cool. Not like, oh my God, well, there's so many things I could have saved for, right? What? No, that's not abundance, yo. That's scarcity. So you need to see yourself as that type of person who can be like, oh, there's a lot of money coming in. Oh, there's a lot of money coming out, and just practice, future pacing yourself into that mentality. It's just law of circulation. It's a universal principle. Okay. So Ben's buying that Rolex black dial. Okay. He's joining the club. So all his spiritual friends who aren't like winning, that's like he loves them, right? You never let people cast hatred into your heart, ever, no matter how bad they hate you, right? It says in the Bible, help your enemies. But you'll walk away with the Rollie, and they'll watch that, and they'll be like, damn, I'm not on the same level as that guy. Okay. It's not like, fuck you. It's just kind of like, I just know who I am, dude. Like, I know why I make money. I know why I sell what I sell. I have that strong core identity. And if you don't have a strong core identity, I will promise you the haters will bring you down and discourage you. And then you'll just procrastinate and never challenge yourself and never make money. What's up?
Yeah, I had a quick question actually, Theo, on that. Have there been periods of your life where you've isolated when you're raising your standards and you're just like that? I feel like I'm kind of in that right now. I'm shedding I have a lot of people reach out to me. I'm not responding because I realize I'm opening up to higher standards, of like people what you mentioned earlier, like being around people who are at your level. How do you know when it's judgment and superiority, and how do you know? Yeah, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
What do you mean judgment? What? Judgment what?
I guess I'm saying that I'm feeling like a bit isolated when I'm like raising my standards. And is that a normal period?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, because there's gonna be moments in your life when God puts you in a corner by yourself to force you into going within, to know yourself. Because a lot of us, what we do is we look to our own identity, but we try to find it through other people. So instead of going like, oh, the universe, no. Forget about your fucking astrology for just a second. Go in yourself in silence and meditation and know yourself. There are codes that you're getting from this transmission that are not from what I am saying. The frequency that I'm at now is unlocking and awakening different parts of you that you didn't realize that you had. There's just different little codes inside of you, little different, just like levers of genius inside of you that you can unconsciously emotionally feel. But you're just trying to figure out like, okay, well, what is that little thing? It's my intention to show you that there are going to be new levels of your dimensionality that you're unlocking in your coaching. That's just, you're trying to uncover that for yourself, but it's inside of you. Does that make sense? But that's the level that's the power of my work that most people don't understand, is that there's transmissions that are beyond like, here's the fucking strategy or tactics. Make sense? But you can't do that if you're stuck in separation, can you? Right? So if you hear yourself talk to yourself through the screen, that's what I mean. Right? And I'm learning from you too. I'm totally learning from you. Level 1, you can help yourself. Level 2, you can help people just like you. Level 3, you can help people with different values, different personality, different gender, but still help them get the fucking result. Level 4 is you can do it all at the same time in a group. That's when you reach master coach status. And you kind of have to serve at least 100 or 200 clients to like really understand different personalities and stuff like that. So you can kind of like parlay it to them. It's like, oh, well, you name. And the best way you avoid people from like having these weird flips on you, like these cognitive biases of what they're going to do is they're going to, in the beginning, they're going to see a banner and they're going to be like, oh, all the positive qualities about Nikki or Ben or whatever. And their brain blocked out the human qualities, the mistakes you make, right? But then one little fucking thing happens, and then all of a sudden they just blot out like all the positive things, like the 90% positive things about you, and they hyper magnify the negative things. So you've seen it in your relationships. You see that? So the way you avoid that is you just say, hey guys, I'm sharing from my experience, and I don't want you to become me. I'm just saying use what you filter this through your own little lens of independent thinking and create that own like unique way of how you're implementing what I'm teaching you. Does that make sense? So you can model me, but from afar. You're like, I'm not becoming Theo, but there's certain ways that he thinks, speaks, behaves that I'm going to put on as a temporary costume so I can kind of get out of my own fucking like limitations and then be able to kind of adopt that temporarily as a crutch. And then once that comes a little bit stronger, then you can start cultivating your own personality, like your own vibe, your own swag, your own leadership. And that's kind of like where we're going with this. Pretty cool, right? You see how like this is so much deeper than marketing and sales? It's like personal branding at its deepest core. It's the shit. Because that's, people do buy your energy, right? In some way, shape, or form, right? Like they fall in love with how you perceive things. It's your outlook on life that they're like, yo, I resonate with how she explains things. I resonate with her weird personality and her little quirks and her little sense of humor. Like that's ultimately what you want to be clear on and like carving out your own fucking like your personality. Does that make sense? Okay. So just to make this real for you, just kind of try to come up with like 3 words that kind of represent the energy of your brand. Mine are like raw, magnetic, and vibrant. So like, what are yours, right? Raw, magnetic, vibrant. Those are just 3 words to keep my frequency clear of like what others have naturally just said. Of like, I just asked them like, what are the words that come to mind, adjectives that you think of like when you think of me? And they said a collection of those, and I just chose my favorite 3. And you'd be like, you be honest, we'll still be friends if you say just anything, like any word that comes to mind, and then they'll give you like a beautiful reflection that's accurate, because they know you, right? That you trust their opinion. Does that help you?
Yeah, thanks.
Because that becomes like an overall principled lens through which like all the strategy and content and it's like how you're coming through with the message. It's like you're cultivating what's called the messenger. You see that? So there's like the message, which we're helping you to like master, but then there's like the messenger, which is also important for you to have that core identity. Does that make sense? And that's where the embodiment comes into play, of like pre-deciding, like I'm the authority in this context. Like I'm the best in the world in this context at what I do. I know it's a little bit arrogant, but let's put it this way. A guy who thinks he's being loud in his head is actually being quiet. Everybody else, like, you may think you're being loud, but but the reality is that you think it's loud in your head. Your loud is just like, oh, confidence, right? Or someone's like walking around with their shoulders down. If I just say like they're arrogantly walking like Conor McGregor, like ha ha ha, right? We did that yesterday. That's just stretching their capacity, so that the average of that is just normal confidence, normal groundedness. Make sense? And then the other guy who's too overcompensating, we need him to pull back a bit so that he doesn't look like he's trying too hard. And he's just like normal, right? Makes sense? All right, y'all. Go take action. Okay? Clarity creates speed.